Pinellas Park. Hi, Jeff. You're on the air at WFLA. Hi, Jeff.
Hey. I think the lottery's a pretty good idea. I mean, my parents buy me tickets all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You don't know what?
Huh?
Do they or don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean,
well, then why'd you say you don't know?
I won $10 on it.
Uh-huh.
A couple free lottery tickets. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You don't know. Well, did you or didn't you?
Yeah, I won, man.
Well, then why'd you say you don't know?
Fight with me.
Then why did you say you don't know? Jeez, I don't know. What censorship lady you call her? Right. Uh-huh. Or if you're going to do it, at least give me credit for it, and at least call her by her proper name. I mean, is that asking too much, guys? Is that really asking too much? I mean, mercy me. How about another Q-Zoo salute this morning, huh?
Well, I didn't wonder, but anyway, this is, like I said, I'm an amateur caller, and I'm glad I got to talk to you and everything, and it's amazing how this radio works. I guess, what is there, a 7-second delay or something here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, keep up the good work, Bob, and I'm really glad you're on in the afternoons now where I can catch you, and I know you don't like weekends. I don't either. I don't work on weekends. But...
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the call. Be good. 990-9352 in Hillsborough County. 2 lines open, 2 hours yet to go. Kind of works out nice that way, don't you think? Don't go far.
WFLA's Mad Dog, Bob Lassiter.
Welcome back. 7 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock, Saturday, January 23rd, 1988. Of course, just a run-of-the-mill Saturday afternoon schmooze on Talk Tampa Bay, WFLA. 2 lines available. They are both in Hillsborough. The number, Lionel, somewhere in Hillsborough County today. Hi there, Lionel.
Bobby, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Was that David Sanborn playing just now?
I don't have the vaguest idea. No, it is not Sanborn.
I hate David Sanborn.
It's just, what? I love Sanborn.
Hate Sanborn.
Oh, you're crazy.
Here, Ernie Watts. I hate that squeaky alto. Anyway,
love the
speaking of what I hate, somebody called before and said, you were talking about demographics and market research and ratings, and that was very interesting. And a lot of us really don't understand what this is all about. And of course, some of your executives don't know what this is all about either. And I understand, let me preface this with saying that I understand that sometimes what we like, personally, and what is popular throughout the area are 2 completely different things.
Of course.
But I am tired, sick and tired. First of all, I love listening to talk radio. I think you know that, and I hope other people know that too. I really enjoy it. I don't like music. But come 7 o'clock every night, gone. Goodbye. Forget it. It's dead.
Mm-hmm. It's
Who
awful.
is the chromosomal moron who's missing a few chromosomes? Again, mind you,
the bookkeeper.
I may hate
You're asking whose decision this is, the bookkeeper.
But what I'm saying is I may be wrong. I mean, people may love Bruce Williams.
They do.
He may get the highest share. I can't believe that. But
no, he does, but it's a totally different audience.
I hate.
As a general rule of thumb.
What do these people have against us?
No, it's a matter of economics, Lionel. It's pure, simple economics. You can have a 10 zillion share at night, and you can't give it away. So if someone's going to give you programming that is of the same or better quality than you're running yourself, and when we talk quality here, we're not necessarily talking content, but overall sound, so it won't detract from this overall sound of the radio station. If they're going to give that to you for free, you're going to take it, because to put somebody on the air with any degree of competence whatsoever.
Pay 'em.
Exactly. And you can't sell it.
Well, let me tell you something. And I understand you're making great headway, and I want to say, I wanted to say something, too. I know you were talking before about Ted, and I know you don't want to get into that, and I don't blame you. But can I say something very quickly?
Sure.
You guys know in your business, when you went into this thing, you know what you were getting into.
Yeah.
Nobody held a gun to your head and said, oh, well, you're all right, you want to be in radio? Good. You know from day to day that it could be your last show, depending upon the parameters of your agreements and all that kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Tedd Webb is going to go far. Tedd Webb knows he's a professional. Tedd Webb, and you know where I realize what a pro he is? The fact that he doesn't let this affect his show.
Well, no, he doesn't. Let me say this, and this is not so much to you, Lionel, but to everybody listening.
Sure.
Everybody knows what they read in the newspaper or what they've heard so far, but consider these three possibilities. Tedd Webb might be, and I underline the word might be, the biggest SOB in the world off the air. You don't know.
Sure.
Or there might be a legitimate conflict of personalities involved here between management and Tedd Webb. That might be a possibility. And there's a third possibility. Perhaps the management here is incredibly stupid. That might be the case. It might be any one of those three things. It might be a combination of those three things, or it might be something else. And nothing should be read into this by anybody out there in radio land, because it is not necessarily what it appears to be. It may be, but it is not necessarily. It's just a fact of life.
Nobody's saying FLA can do whatever they want to do. It's their station.
That's
okay.
right.
You're not letting us down. This isn't a personal affront to anyone. However, I think your last choice is probably it, because I think it's probably stupid. Because you people have a group of individuals making decisions who don't know what in the hell they're talking about.
You don't know that for a fact. That might be your suspicion.
I do know it for a fact. Are you making decisions? Are the on-air people the people who are really skilled in radio, who actually know what it is to get behind the mic and come and do a shtick? Or,
well, now, hold on here a second. I am very fond of saying, and it happens to be, unfortunately, in too many stations, the truth. The guy who sits in the general manager's chair is not there because he's the best administrator, is not there because he's the best programmer. He's there usually because he's the best salesman. However, that is not always the case.
Of course not.
And just because somebody is a good on-air person does not mean he has administrative skills, sales skills, or...
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are people who look at this thing as an intellectual foreplay, so to speak. They say, well, let's see. And they make decisions, and the person that they really forget about is the fan. That's what they do. They want numbers, money. They don't care what we want. They don't care if they... Your people, not FLA, not necessarily, PLP, FLA, RBQ, you name it. They couldn't give a rat's you-know-what about what we like. They don't care. As long as our like equates into money, it's all it's about. And I don't quibble with that. I understand it. But what I'm saying is, you people, I'm not blowing smoke up your kazoo, by the way, but when you were on at night, I loved it. I literally never watched television. I had my Walkman on. I could do my stuff. It was terrific. Now, I don't know what your numbers were. I don't know if it helped sales.
Oh, they're giant numbers, no.
I don't know if PLP...
I mean, all you have to do is go back and, you have tapes, Lionel. Go back and listen to those tapes and count the number of commercials. Then listen to one of my shows next week and count the number of commercials.
There was no commercials. That's why I loved it.
Crammed, packed full of them, but that's the name of the game. I like to earn money, too, and I don't get money unless I get commercials.
We don't quibble with that. All we're saying is this. Don't put on Bruce Williams. Don't put on Chuck Harder. Don't put on these people with their motor shows and psychiatrists and astrologers and send a certified letter. Have you ever listened to Chuck Harder and ever heard him answer a question without sending somebody a certified letter?
Well, how are you going to answer
the question? Does he have stock in the post office? Let me tell you something. Unless you have medical shows, astrology shows, legal shows, unless you have the identical rectal polyp, unless you are a Virgo with Cancer rising, unless you have a carburetor problem, you don't care what the subject matter is. You don't care what this is.
But again, now you're talking about weekend programming, and weekend programming is very similar to nighttime programming. You have a smaller available audience.
Oh, come on.
You have a different kind of audience.
You know why you got a smaller audience?
And it isn't sellable.
You are doing something. You've got a good point, but you're not making the connection. You know why you got a smaller audience? Because you're putting on crap.
No, that's not why I have a smaller audience. I have a smaller audience, Lionel, because the type of individual that Lassiter appeals to Monday through Friday is not available on Saturday. That individual is at the beach, or he's in Orlando, or he's painting the house, or he's doing whatever.
I beg to differ with you. But let me tell you something. We don't have to do anything special to be with you. All we got to do is have a radio. That's it.
Well, but I don't have a show unless you have a radio and a telephone.
No. People are always going to call you on the weekends. I say you're putting the cart before the horse, the chicken before the egg, the whole bit. The reason that these people are not calling you, listening or what have you, is because your weekend shows, up till now, I kind of like it. It's getting better. Even Lizard Richards is coming along. But aside from that, heretofore it has been crap. And if you give the American public something interesting to watch, listen to,
now hold on here.
They're going to come out of the woodwork any time of the week.
Lionel, is that an editorial you, or are you addressing Lassiter with you?
No, this is a collective thought.
Okay.
You and the powers that be.
Because there's another element here too. If you're addressing Lassiter, and that is, insofar as my Saturday show, my Saturday show is crap. I mean, it's an incredible embarrassment to me.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Don't tell me it's not an embarrassment to me.
Not.
You know, maybe you enjoy listening to me suffer, but I don't enjoy suffering.
This is as good as it is any time. Period.
However, I am a human being, believe it or not, and I get tired. And sometimes I get resentful because rather than sitting here begging and pleading for calls, I might like to be with my wife in Orlando.
We don't care about your understand something, Bob. No offense. But we, the radio public,
I know.
We don't give a damn about your personal life.
Well, I know that.
We don't think you make love, go to the bathroom, eat, sleep. We don't. You are a machine. You are this voice that comes. We don't care.
Oh, I appreciate that.
It's just like management doesn't care about Tedd Webb. Doesn't care about you, doesn't care about anybody. As long as it's numbers, money, and that's it. But we ought to get together and revolt. I guarantee you, you put on something interesting on the weekend, you get a legitimate, get somebody, even Liz Richards. I would rather listen to Liz Richards than Chuck Carter any day.
Lionel, maybe that's what you want to believe. However, all one need do is go to the ratings information, and you will see the number of people available to listen to radio, period, Monday through Friday, is much, much, much smaller on Saturday and Sunday. The available audience is not there, so you can't do the same kind of programming at the same quality level.
Fine. Why are they not there?
Why are they not there? Because they have things to do. They have other things to do, other than, sit at the desk while doing the books, listening to the radio, or standing out there next to the lathe, listening to the radio as they do Monday through Friday.
Are you telling me that you know this fact? Because there are research people who go out and find out how many people are available to listen to radio, or do you have a research staff, what have you, that calls people up on the weekend and says, by the way, do you happen to be listening to the radio now? Because if it's the latter of the two, the reason they might not be listening to the radio is because of the crap that's on the weekend. Now, if that same group goes out and says, guess what? We made 10,000 phone calls and nobody's home. We can't find people on the weekends. If that's true, then you're making sense.
Lionel, would you agree that most radio Monday through Friday, let alone Saturday and Sunday, is crap?
Talk radio or
most
music?
Radio, period.
Oh, yeah, crap.
It's crap, right? People listen to it in droves, don't they?
Crapola. Uh-huh.
But they don't listen to it on the weekends. It's because they're not available.
Right. So
it has nothing to do with the quality. I mean, people will listen to anything. People will listen to static.
That's right. So give us the people who are your diehard listeners, who don't listen to you, And instead of paying not a couple of bucks, I mean, what's it going to cost?
Lionel, you're dreaming. You're dreaming.
What's it going to cost?
You're dreaming, Lionel.
How much can you possibly be paying Liz Richards for crying out loud? Get anybody.
I'll tell you how much we're paying Liz Richards. More than we're paying Bruce Williams. That's how much. If it's $1, it's more than we're paying Bruce Williams.
FLA.
It's as simple as that, Lionel.
FLA, a bunch of cheap people. RBQ is number one because they're not afraid to spend a buck. And as long
There's quite a bit of truth in that statement.
As long as FLA and PLP, whoever, I mean, this is not an anti-FLA thing, believe me. But as long as you make this penurious, niggardly, weird way of looking at money, as long as you do that, you guys are never going to
Lionel, there's another thing that you're forgetting. Or not taking into consideration. There's a distinct possibility, Lionel, the WPLP or WFLA doesn't have the money. Did that ever dawn on you?
I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to name names. But you know why you probably don't have the money? Because you people are wasting it. You people I know in your industry, not WFLA, not PLP, not anybody in particular, but I know you people have paid people too much who shouldn't have been paid that much. You've underpaid others. You've got waste. You're like the government. You're not spending your money wisely. I'll bet you I could go in, slash and burn your bureaucracy, your red tape. I could get rid of middle management people, and I could take that money that I'm saving, pump it back in, put quality product on the air, and make a fortune. But you've got to cut heads, Bob. You got to get rid of the associate program director in charge of logistics and all these grandiose...
Again, you're making assumptions. You're making assumptions that such people exist.
They do.
They don't.
You know it and I know.
Not at this station.
You're in a
Not at that other station.
You're in a cutthroat, mean, nasty business.
Well, that's true.
It's the worst business in the world to be in.
Well, worst I've found.
And I'm glad, and you're doing
maybe
a hell
the
of a
restaurant
job.
business.
You've done well, and I think that's great, and I want you to be on forever. But I wish you'd get, what's his name, Handy Dandy, whatever his name is?
Handy Dandy, right.
Get Handy Dandy on the air, like you did one time before in the past, with Yoki in the old days, on the old play. And you let us tell him what we think of his brilliance.
But again, Lionel, you see, you're making another assumption. You're assuming that the caller is the same person as the listener, and they aren't.
I know better than that. I know better.
Which is why we don't pay any attention to the callers.
Oh, well, good.
Because they're not, well, in terms of, this is what I want, this is what you should do.
Remember, a caller is a listener, but a listener is not necessarily a caller.
That's true.
So if you talk to any caller, you are necessarily talking to listeners.
I mean, this whole business is filled with paradoxes. There's a saying in the business, you don't program the callers, you program the listeners. Well, unfortunately, if you don't have callers, you don't have listeners.
Right.
So, it's constantly jumping back and forth.
By virtue of you people taking on the talk show genre, you have added another headache. Because if you're doing straight music, you could say, here's the Supremes, put it on, play it, the hell with it, listen to it or not.
Oh, I beg to differ with you. Talk radio has the exact same philosophy as music radio. On music radio, they play the hits, right? Well, talk radio plays the hits, too, and if you don't play the hits, then you don't get the numbers. And the hits in talk radio are the calls. You have to know how to play the calls, how to get them, first of all, how to get the right ones, secondly, and then what to do with them when you got them.
But you don't have to know.
And you don't repeat them too often, and you don't let them go on too long.
But you don't know you don't have to learn how to get the music. You play the music. The order's important. Talk show, I think, is much more difficult than music. You've got to get...
Well, it depends on whether or not it's easy for you to do.
No, well,
some people... No, wait a second. There are some people that can listen to a record and say, people will like this. And so, therefore, it's real easy for them to program a music station. There are other people that don't know what people will like who are programming music stations, and it's real hard for them.
When you play the record, can you imagine having a music station where you ask callers to call in and play music for you? That's what talk radio is. You're taking a chance every time you pick up the phone that somebody is going to be boring or somebody's going to be a moron or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
When you play the Supreme song or Marvin Gaye, you know what you're going to get. Now, whether anybody
No,
likes
you don't. No, you don't. You don't know if people are going to like it.
The music sounds. Whether people appreciate
Yeah, but there's some people that don't understand that other people like it.
That's what I'm saying.
And there are some people that think that, hey, everybody's going to like this, and it's off. There's a classic example. We talked about it earlier today. Dear Mr. Jesus, a classic example of a station getting suckered in and fooled.
Do you think theoretically, that there exists a possibility of there being a talk show station where literally during one 4-hour block nobody calls up? That's possible. Very unlikely. But don't you think that's possible?
It's happened.
Of course it's happened. Now,
sometimes deliberately, sometimes not deliberately.
Now let me ask you another question. Do you think that it's possible for a music station to have no music to play? No! That's what I'm saying. Talk show is harder. You may not get anything. You may not get anything interesting.
Well, you're wrong. You see, there are ways to get calls. I know how to get calls.
What I'm saying.
Captain Jack in Port Tampa. Yeah, Captain. What's with you today?
Afternoon, Bob. I listened to Lionel, and I happen to be one of those, and I'm talking straight at you now. The fact that entertainment is why I listen to your program, and I'll listen for 4 hours just to hear if Lionel or Carolyn or Rocky or Valerico Bob or any of these people come on. It makes my day. It's entertaining, and I've heard you many times in the past talk about, that you are in the entertaining business. And as far as I'm concerned, of listening to the other talk show hosts, I don't know of any others that handle the people like you do. Especially as I said, the Lionels and the Valerico Bobs and the Loises and whatnot. And I'm interested in getting a response from you. Is how important are calls from people such as the people that I've mentioned to your program?
How important are they?
Yeah. Do you? Well, let me put it this: do they help you as an individual in the ratings? Do they help make your show? You're talking about like today's Saturday and nothing's going on. I say, and I agree with Lionel. We're out here. We're here, but we're not. We don't. Most of us don't take part, but we listen.
Well, let me give you a brutally honest answer.
Okay.
In the beginning, and for a while, such calls are very important, but talk radio is not that terribly different from music radio. You got to play the hits.
Yeah.
But even a hit gets tired after a while.
Well, I understand that. I mean,
so after a while, it actually becomes a detriment.
Right. The Jacobs and the Captain Jacks and I understand that. But why I bring this up, Bob? Of course, I never miss you. I listen to you every day. And the fact you'll hear people. You'll hear them refer to these people. Is this one, that one? Is this? They keep coming back, and I have a feeling that we're discussing this now that you're going to find that a lot of your listeners feel like I do. The fact that these people, we're not calling them the as you do in the past, your Lassiter's group or the celebrities or whatnot, but people do listen to hear these people. A remark I made last week, a woman said she was up on her step ladder putting up wallpaper, and when she heard what I said, she fell off her step ladder. Of course, that's to do outrageous or make outrageous things, and yes, sometimes things that I say, I put a lot of work in. I'll go down to the library and research things and all, to say outrageous things. And I think a lot of us do that. Well, I'm not saying a lot, but there is a certain group that do. And I think Lionel agrees with me along this line that it does. It's made. Well, I'm not saying it's made you, what you are, but it's helped that you are the only one in this area that can handle this type of individual. The Lionels and the Rockies and the Calvins and the Captain Jacks and the Toms and the Valerico Bob. These people. Do you agree with me on that, or
That I'm the only one that can handle them?
Well, I don't know of anybody else that can.
Well, most of them existed long before I came here.
Who, the people?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
as callers.
But not now.
What do you mean, not now?
No, these other.
No, the callers that you're referring to existed in this market before I came here.
they may have existed, but they were not handled the way you handle them, and have that has helped your program. The fact that or the listeners, as I said, I happen to be one, and I think by airing this with you that you're going to get a response out of the fact that people do agree that the program. I don't listen to it to know what's going on throughout the world. I listen to be entertained, and I've heard you say that over and over, that it is entertainment. That's why I want to be entertained. I'm bored silly when we start on something else, and I know there's some days that when you're very serious, and I don't call, or we most of us that listen have enough sense to know when you're dead set on serious or when you want to play and whatnot. And when you do, but I think those programs, I love the programs that when Rocky comes on and says something outrageous, or Valrico, Bob, or Lois, and all these type of things. And I think a lot of listeners feel like I do about that it is entertainment. I don't want to hear no music. I want to hear some outrageous things, shock radio, and things of that nature. So I just thought I'd throw that at you, and see if I get a response out of you on it. I listened to that tape this morning. It was made last October. Lassiter's group. That's still, people took off work to hear that, Bob.
I know.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out that that we are here, and I think that there are a lot of people out here that are not taking part on Saturdays due to the fact of it's just a kind of a blah situation, but it could be. But during the week, the people, the ones that listen, and you hear them refer all the time.
Well, but Captain, at the risk of insulting you and the other people that you spoke of, yes, I'm very well aware of the fact that you guys are there waiting to pounce. What isn't there are the real callers that also are just as exciting, sometimes far more so. The person that only will call once in a lifetime, they are not there in numbers. There are people waiting on Saturday to pounce for their moment in the sun, but not necessarily for a good conversation, but for their moment in the sun. Or there are people who feel sorry for the poor guy and call up, or there are other people who just call up and say, well, let's just chat on the radio about nothing. How you doing? How's the wife, dog?
I think each one has different reasons, and of course, to myself, all I try to do is get a reaction, or get callbacks and some terrible things said about me as a person, that call. I think that's entertainment. I love it, and you keep it up, and appreciate talking to you about it.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Bye-bye.
Be good. Smooth sailing there, Captain.
What I classify before life starts is that before it comes out of the womb.
Well, great, Kevin. That's fantastic. Don't have an abortion.
I'm not planning on to have an abortion.
Well, good,
man,
good.
I think that's rather a redundant statement to make. How can a man have an abortion? I think it's highly improbable.
Well, since you're so dead set against it, I was just suggesting that you, follow your own persuasions not to have an abortion.
No, I'm just...
But keep you damn those out of other people's business.
Well, I can see this is really going nowhere. Because you're set in your ways and I'm set in mine.
Okay, Kevin.
Thank you.
Well, sometimes they even get caught in the same trap. I mean, let me give you an example. Dear Mr. Jesus. Dear Mr. Jesus appealed to a handful of people who picked up the phone and called the radio station in droves. And so the radio station said, oh, my God, we've got a hit on our hands. 95% of the people hear Dear Mr. Jesus, and they go, oh, God, not again. Let's see what YNF is doing. They don't play it. But the poor guys at the Q Zoo have become victims of
you can see how they would get caught
market research, reverse market research. 1,600 people went out and bought this record, and if you go by the normal odds, the number of people who like it times the number of people who would actually buy it, this must be a monster.
Well, you're in the business, and I respect your opinion.
To me, it's easy because it's my chosen profession, and it's something I enjoy doing. If you were to put me live on the radio in a studio and I had to take calls and talk intelligently about innumerable different subjects, I would probably break down crying.
Well, you see, one of the reasons that what I do works is because I put so much of myself into it, but I am just like everybody else. I have my personal good days, my personal bad days. There are days when I argue with my wife. There are days when my dog, defecates on the rug. There are days when I have, fights with the IRS. There are days when the car breaks down. And because what I do is literally Lassiter, it is sometimes, I say it's easy, but it's also sometimes very hard because I expose myself so much that it is almost impossible for me to hide, for me to conceal when there's, disaster and tragedy and sorrow in my life, and those are the tough days. They're the real... yesterday was such a day. Yesterday was such a day. I was feeling very, very bad for Dick Norman, who, had his program director's hat removed, and for Tedd Webb, who was put on 30 days' notice. I felt very bad for those two gentlemen, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with whether it was a good decision, a bad decision, the right decision, the wrong decision. That's besides the point. I always feel bad when someone's job is in jeopardy or when someone has been demoted, whatever it might be. And to come in here and sit down for 4 hours was almost impossible because I just felt so rotten for them.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that you do become close to the people that you listen to. And a lot of people don't call and tell you that. And
I totally understand that. I can even give you an example of something that happened to me this week. Earlier this week, I came in, I opened up my mail, and there's a note from a man. Oh, gosh, I really shouldn't do... Well, I won't do it that way. From a man whose name I thought I recognized. And so I asked around the station, and I said, does so-and-so mean something to you? And everybody said, well, yeah, I'm not really quite sure, but yeah, that's a really familiar name. And it drove me crazy all day, and finally, one of our guys over on the FM side, Mark Santel, no, I beg your pardon, it wasn't Mark Santel. He couldn't place it either. It was Tedd Webb. Came in during one of my breaks. The gentleman is a renowned record producer, one of the founding members of a major record label who now lives in this area and is a listener to the show. And I just got incredibly excited. I mean, this is a man who has made music that has been a part of my life, a part of your life, a part of almost everybody's life. I mean, we're talking big names, big music, monster hits, monster record label, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was absolutely thrilled because here's a man, I couldn't even totally place his name at first with his work. But when I did, I said, oh, my God, this guy's part of me. I've never met him. I've never seen him. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I was thrilled that this man took the time to sit down. And actually, he sent me 2 notes this week. I got another one yesterday. And I'm still elated. I'm going home this afternoon and right back to him.
And I think that even that in itself will be a thrill for you because this man was a part of your life, just like you're a part of many people's lives in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to wish you the best of luck. I think your move was the best thing in the world.
Oh, it's the most intelligent thing I've ever done.
And you sound like you're much happier. And I think that's the only thing that matters. You should be happy in what you do. And like again, you've got a position that I don't think anybody could possibly handle unless they were in love with that business. And because keep up the good work. We love listening to you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Robert.
Hi.
Robert, I am a snowbird, but I don't think I'm brain damaged.
Okay.
And
most aren't, actually.
Well, I'm a snowbird who has been coming down for so long that I feel like a native. And I sympathize with the natives. And my husband and I, he just died recently, we did everything we could to blend in. We avoided the rush hours. We would travel a back street, stay out of the way out of the natives, everything so that we wouldn't clutter up and make things harder for the natives. We never did live in a conclave of just Northerners, although we have very good friends who do. But we found it very difficult to participate because being here only 5 or 6 months, you can't sign up for important work or committees or take office or anything because you're not going to be here. And I couldn't stay because the weather affected my health. And I was lucky enough to have a home in both places. And there's another thing. So many of us snowbirds that have come down, we're pretty big frogs in little ponds up north. And when we come here, we're nothing. We're nobody.
8 days and Tedd Webb?
Yeah, Ted has been placed on 30 days' notice by the station.
30 days until termination of employment.
Termination of his contract.
terminated.
Now, what happens at the end of those 30 days, I do not know. There are a number of possibilities. Tedd and the station may part their ways. Tedd and the station may negotiate a new contract. I have no idea. But he has been placed on 30 days notice in terms of his current contract.
Was his employment contract due to be up anyway in 30 days?
No, it's an option period. There are 4 days a year where the station can either elect to continue the contract for an additional 13 weeks or elect to terminate that contract.
Okay.
Of course, we have a sports show, and I think Tedd Webb is par excellence.
There's nobody better. There is nobody better at doing it than Tedd Webb.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. You guys behave yourselves.